Hi, so this is Badgerland's Highest Awards Chit Chat, which we hold every Saturday at 9 a.m., first Saturday of the month at 9 a.m., and third Monday of the month at 7 p.m. And tonight we're honored to have Jenna and Rachel, two of Badgerland's 2022 Gold Award class, here with us tonight. And we're going to chat with them about their Gold Award projects and their experiences. Which one of you ladies would like to go first and talk about your Gold Award project?
I can go first. Do you have any questions or do you just want me to kind of overview my project?
Why don't you give us an overview of your project to start with?
So for my project, I painted a mural at my old elementary school, and my root cause that I kind of focused on was childhood food insecurity in America. So I encouraged my audience to donate to that, and in my mural, I depicted kids being active as the wall was on the way out to the playground. So it kind of connected there. And then I connected that to food insecurity because those activities wouldn't have been possible without a proper diet.
Jenna, can you share what your project was?
Yeah, so I created cookbooks for my local food pantry. Basically, I made about 60 copies originally, and then they printed like 200 more with their funds. I had dietary needs so it was inclusive to everybody, and then I also made it in Spanish and English. Um, that was my project. It was just kind of to help nutrition and getting proper nutrition to the people that didn't have as easy access to it.
And how about what inspired you to do your project? And Jenna, why don't you go first this time?
I was really inspired because I had worked at the food pantry prior, and they were playing. I remember the first time I worked there, they were playing this music, and I don't know why, I don't know what about it, but it just put me in such a good mood. And so I just wanted to keep going back to the pantry. So I kept going back, I kept volunteering, and then I was like, why wouldn't I make my gold award something that this pantry could benefit from, since it just is such a happy place. So
And Rachel, what was your inspiration?
I knew that I wanted to paint a mural because like I just like painting murals, and I wanted to kind of do something bigger and use a gold award project as kind of leverage to be able to do something for like a school, or if I was to do a different location, something like that.
Will each of you share what your biggest challenge was during your project and how you overcame it? Rachel, you want to go first this time?
Um, for me, the biggest challenge was kind of connecting, picking an issue to kind of connect to that and having like a strong connection. And like another kind of smaller issue was just as simple as like the layers of paint that it took and how long it took me to do, because I did want to complete it in 4 days. Because there was like a fall break. So it was like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Um, so I wanted to kind of get the whole thing done in 4 days, which was 200 square feet, multiple layers of paint, details and stuff. So I was working like 10-hour days for that entire break, but I was able to do it.
I would say I had two pretty big challenges. My first challenge was when I walked into the pantry for one of my meetings just to catch up on the project. I saw a sign that it was translated to Spanish, and I was like, shoot. I felt really bad. I was like, I forgot a whole part of my community. So that was a quick add on. I originally had no intent to make it Spanish, and then I was like, okay, well, I need to do this. So I had to contact my Spanish teachers, and that I'm in Spanish 5, but that does not mean I'm anywhere near fluent. Um, so that was really helpful of them. And then my second biggest struggle is printing is expensive, and I didn't realize that. So I did some fundraisers with my troop, and then I also just had to find the cheapest option. And I ended up having to put together binders, but I wanted them to be sustainable because that's a huge part of the project. So I had to put sheet protectors for every single piece of paper. So these books are 40 plus pages. I had 60 copies. I had to put every single page in a sheet protector and then put it in a binder. It took me so long, but it was worth it, but it took forever.
What was the thing that you learned the most about yourself during your project? Jenna?
I think that I can scrounge up motivation from anything. I think Rachel probably recognizes this too. I was at least in the midst of the pandemic when I was trying to do mine. I had no motivation for school, no motivation for anything. Um, and then I was like, okay, I want to get this done. I started this before the pandemic. I want to get this done. I'm not just going to leave it hanging. I don't like unfinished projects. So that was kind of cool to me to be able to see that I can, if I need it, I can find the motivation for it.
Yeah, I agree with what Jenna said. Like I relate to that with my project. For me, I just kind of learned that this is something I'm really passionate about, like helping my community, volunteering, volunteering, stuff like that, and painting murals in general. Like right now, I'm painting another mural at the police station in my community. So I just want to kind of continue with this like thing.
I lost my question. Did you see it fly away out of my head? Sorry. What did you learn about the Gold Award process that you didn't know that could be helpful to other girls going for gold in the future?
I think that it's really important just to kind of like complete all the go gold like items like right away and just like make sure you have all the criteria because it's really hard to go back to things and like find that one missing detail when you're having like a Zoom call with an advisor to like just like the little things like make sure you're answering the prompts to like their full extent and focusing on details.
Yeah, I agree with that. For me, the big key was just finding a way to measure it, like measure what had happened. Into that right at the beginning. The website is super amazing, super helpful. I think I don't know how I would have done it without that. It really took you step by step through what you needed to do. Another thing that I learned like really randomly is that you can add mentors throughout your project. So or not mentors, team members. Um, as you're going along, you can add people that you randomly pop up. Like my Spanish teachers randomly became a part of my team halfway through. And it was super easy to add them into the website because it's just so simple to use, basically.
If someone's not is new to the Gold Award and doesn't know what website we're talking about, if you just Google GSUSA Go Gold, the website will come up and you can register for that. I think once you're in 8th grade, I don't think you have to be a freshman in high school yet so that you could see the questions, at least at the proposal phase. And one of the pieces that that Rachel and Jenna talked about is really answering those questions completely. Some of the questions are like fill in the blank questions with really short answers, but other ones you're allowed 2,000 characters. And you really want to use those 2,000 characters because that really helps you get your message across to the people reading that proposal. And then once your proposal is submitted, after you've had your interview and your project's approved, then the next steps of Go Gold open for your final report. And you can start putting notes in that final report. I think that that's part of what Rachel was referencing. You can start putting notes in that final report. They don't have to be full sentences, but like little notes to yourself so that when you go back and actually answer those questions, you have those notes there to remind yourself, because it's easier to make those notes as you're going through the project. So those are really good points. Thank you. Who did you have on your team and how did they help you?
I had a couple girls from my troop for the fundraising aspect of it. We had a bake sale and then we had a couple other like sales, garage sales just to kind of like get some funds because once again, printing is expensive. Um, so I had a couple girls on my troop and then I also had my troop leader just for like the more like informative aspect. And then I had my Spanish teachers. Eventually towards the end, there's like a kind of outreach, like spreading awareness about your project. And then I was on a radio show, so I would consider them a team member because they helped me like outreach my project. And as well as my mentor at the food pantry, Helen, she was a huge part of my project too.
Yeah, I had the principal of the school that I painted the mural at because I had to get approval and work with like revisions there, my troop leader, custodial staff. I had to get the paint approved and be let into the building to paint it over the long weekend. I would say people at Hallman Lindsay who donated the paint to me, and um, like your radio show thing, mine was in the newspaper, so that reporter I had in my list.
How did you connect with the newspaper or the radio to help get your word out? What was that first connection?
For me, we had been like most of our Girl Scout projects had been in the newspaper, like as a troop. So we were kind of close with her, so it was like pretty easy for that for me.
My mentor posted when I dropped off the initial cookbook, she posted on the Facebook for the food pantry, and there was a bunch of it blew up in my neighborhood. So a radio show saw the post, and then they contacted Helen, and then she connected me with him. So
That networking is super important. Jenna, you mentioned you touched on measurability, the data piece, and figuring out how you're going to measure your project and how you're going to connect data. Can you both comment on how you did that measurability piece for your projects?
yeah, my measurability was a lot of like numbers. Like I found out the percentage of my neighborhood that speaks Spanish. I added like the 60 cookbooks and then with the addition of 200 after the impact. So that was like my measure went from 600 or 60 to 200. It was kind of just making sure I had numbers in my report, and strong numbers and researched numbers.
For mine, it was mostly just like adding up sources from like where my project was shared. So like my school district Instagram, the newspaper's Facebook, the amount of like newspapers that they do send out. That was like my original piece, and then my project was shared through the school's newsletter to parents. So there was that, and then the number of students and staff that attend the school. So it was just kind of like adding up everyone who was kind of exposed to it and then encouraged to donate to a food pantry or charity.
So I want to welcome, I see we have some guests that joined us. Yes, this is Girl Scouts. So welcome, Sarah, and I apologize. Is it Sania? And what we were just doing. Sanaya. Well, welcome. I'm glad that you guys were able to join us. So we were just having a conversation with Jenna and Rachel. They are two of this year's 2022 Gold Award Girl Scouts for Badgerland Council. And they were talking about their projects and some of their experiences. Do you guys have questions about the Gold Award? Do you want to listen to a couple more questions before you ask questions?
No.
Okay, well, I'll ask the girls a couple of questions, but feel free when you think of a question to please jump in and ask, okay? So Jenna did cookbooks for food pantry. And as part of the project, in addition to creating 60 cookbooks, she translated them into Spanish. And Rachel painted a mural that focused on fitness and healthy eating at a school in her community. So just so you have a little bit of background on what their projects were, so that when they're answering questions, it makes you can make some connections on that. So Jenna and Rachel, when you think back on your project, is there a special memory or something that happened during your project that is really special to you?
For me, it was definitely like getting that paint donation. It was like a lot of paint and probably not like I didn't even need nearly that much. I was given a gallon for each color that I needed, and it was quite a large offer that I received. And that was like a positive memory that kind of sticks out. Something that was more like just along like the memorable lines was like spilling paint and having to clean that up very fast. That was a little scary.
I have three things that stick out to me. My first would be a positive one. Going from my initial 60 copies, 2 days after I dropped those off at the food pantry, my mentor Helen reached out to me and said that she was going to print 200 more with the pantry's funds just because of the impact of 2 days, which I was really impressed by that it had done that in just 2 days. Another impact, when I was on the radio show, I totally said the wrong thing at the beginning. They greeted me with hello and welcome to our radio show, whatever, and I said welcome for some reason. That doesn't make sense. So that was a memory for sure. And then another memory was when we were fundraising for my project. We had a bake sale, but it was like an early morning garage bake sale. So we were baking, and we didn't know about this until like 2 days before. So we were baking at like 3 a.m. to prepare for this, and then we started at like 5:30 a.m. So that was pretty fun.
So we held our council celebration of Gold Award Girl Scouts a couple weeks ago now. But I'm wondering, did your families or troop or community do anything special for you in addition to that council celebration? And like through this process, after you've earned it, is there something special that's happened to you that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I actually have something that's pretty unique. I had a meeting with our village board, and they actually declared a day after me in our community. So that was kind of interesting. It's March 7th. Yeah.
I definitely don't have anything like that. Mine is more just congratulations from troop leaders and friends.
Yeah, that recognition by communities can be really, really special. What else would you like to share about your Gold Award, either the projects or the process or memories or anything else from your experiences?
Sorry, I'm trying to think of everything.
Can you repeat the question too?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's anything else from either your project or the Gold Award process itself, or anything else related to the experience that you'd like to share.
I think one thing that stands out to me is I had a really hard time coming up with an idea. I don't know if that's everybody's process, but that was definitely my process. I started brainstorming my freshman year, and I did not know what I wanted to do until maybe like the middle of my sophomore year, which was kind of late in the game, in my opinion, but I had no clue what I wanted to do. So it took me like a year and a half to figure that out. So start early so you have that time to think, because you are going to have to commit a lot of time to your project. I think I committed like 180 hours, which is like not what you need. But you're gonna have to commit time to it. So make sure it's something you're passionate about. Take your time to decide what you want to do. Don't just jump into something that you're not excited about.
For me, it's not really like a piece of advice, but something that stuck out to me was that Monday after the long weekend, I was able to, their school started earlier than mine. So I came to the school and then just kind of like sat on the side and got to see students' reactions to it because no one knew about it. Staff didn't really even know about it, that was a little weird to me, but that's what the principal decided to do. I got to see students' reactions, staff reactions, because it is like the wall right as they go outside. So they'll come in from getting dropped off and they'll walk past it, or when recess was over in the morning, then they'll come back inside and see it as they're going to their classrooms. So just all those reactions for this like huge wall, that was really special to me.
I'm going to have a couple more questions for you guys, but I saw some of Sarah's questions come through, and so I just wanted to check on them. So these girls earn their gold award, which you earn when you're a senior or a master. So when you're in high school, 6th through 8th graders, so cadets, earn the silver award. And then I see that your daughter is in 4th grade. And so 4th and 5th graders would work on their bronze award. And it's a progression. And so these girls, the minimum project is 80 hours for the gold award. Silver is 50 hours. I can't tell you what bronze is. I'm sorry.
25.
25.
Bronze is
Thank you.
20.
Thank you. But what it is it's a community service project. However, you want to make it more than go out and do something. You really want to have the girls identify a problem and find a solution to it and implement that solution. And so Jenna, I'm sorry, I can't remember. Are you in Madison? Yeah, Jenna's in Madison. Rachel responded in the chat that she's in Wanakee. The girls did talk about their team members earlier, although I don't know that either of you mentioned your parents, but I know both of your parents were involved.
Yeah, my mom helped a lot with, so we went to a couple different places for printing. We went to FedEx, and then we went to Office Depot, and like 2 more local ones. And she helped kind of facilitate that interaction. So she came with me, and I obviously like took the lead.
I keep muting myself and then forgetting. Rachel, were your parents involved?
Yeah, they were. Like my dad was showing me, for example, like the chalk line that I used or chalk reel to get straight lines on the wall by myself. And my mom helped with like setting up a meeting to meet with Hallman Lindsay and talk to them about getting a donation.
All right. And Phoenix and LaToya, welcome. I see that you're from the same troop. So welcome. So Jenna and Rachel are 2022 Gold Award Girl Scouts from Badgerland Council this year. So they've recently earned their gold awards, and we were just getting some feedback from them, and we were actually answering some of the questions that Sarah had. So if you guys if Phoenix or LaToya, if you guys have any questions, feel free to either put them in the chat or unmute and ask them, because that's what we're here for. And so the last question that I saw that wasn't asked yet was, do you have to write a paper? And we had talked about this a little bit earlier. I realized you weren't on there. For the Gold Award, there's actually a website that, and so this will answer the application process also. There is for the Gold Award, there's a website where you put in, it's called the proposal, where you write up what you want to do for your project and answer a whole bunch of questions detailing it out. And then that gets submitted to the highest awards committee and reviewed. And either we have changes that get asked because perhaps we missed some of the pieces in some of the questions, some of the details, or then it's get approved. And then if it gets approved, you can start working on your project. And then when you're done with your project, there's another set of questions in the report that you need to fill out. It's called the final report, or at least that's what we refer to it as. And then that gets submitted. Then that also goes to the highest awards committee for review. And then backing up at silver, at the cadet level, there is an intent form that each girl fills out, even though the Gold Award has to be done individually by girls. At the cadet level, the Silver Award can be done by a small group of girls, no more than 3 to 4. It can also be done individually. And there's an intent form are you guys with Badgerland? Okay. Because every council is different. So I wanted to make sure. So there is an intent form that each girl should fill out. So even if they're working in a small group on the silver, they each fill out the form and it gets submitted to council, and council says, yep, this looks good, or asks questions. And then again, when they're done with the project, and it's a 1-page for silver, 1-page intent and 1-page final that they fill out. At bronze, the troop leader fills out a final report and says what the troop did and submits that to council. And if the girls break up into smaller groups, because the bronze can be done, which is juniors, can be done by the whole troop as a group, but sometimes those troops are so big that they want to break them up into smaller groups because girls have different interests or other things. And so then the troop leader would fill out one of those bronze reports for each group that did it, not for one troop. It would be for each project that was done. Yep. So if you only have 4 girls, those are perfect. Those are great sizes for doing the bronze. And again, there are girls that aren't interested in doing the highest awards, and some troops try and encourage all the girls. I think you should encourage all the girls to go for it. But if you have girls that truly don't have an interest, then either break it into 2 different projects and have those that aren't quite certain and are just dipping their toe in, do one project, and have the ones that are really interested and really want to run with it, do a different project. Because then the girls that are really interested and really want to run with it won't get frustrated by carrying the other girls. Because that can happen. Jenna or Rachel, do you guys have any stories from bronze or silver that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I have both the bronze and silver. And bronze, my whole troop did it together. We made a butterfly garden at my local elementary school. And then for silver, we split up. We were actually all working on the same project, but we split into branches. So what we did is we had like a fundraising committee, we had a building committee, and we made a Gaga ball pit. We had like a troop of 10. So it was like 3, 4, it was like smaller groups in that group of 10. But we all kind of worked on the same big project with the same end results, but we just switched into different committees so we could fit that smaller group requirement.
I also did both projects for my bronze award. I did it in 5th grade, and we made fundraising like collection boxes for this farm who was going to build like a new heritage center like barn. So the collection boxes were shaped like what the barn was going to look like, and then it had like a spot for pamphlets and then a slot in the top that like people could put money in. Sorry. And then for my silver award, 3 girls in my troop did it total. I worked with one other girl, and we sewed 62 baby blankets for a hospital in Madison. And then the other girl, she did something kind of similar. She sewed like seasonal like hats, like one would be like a turkey for November, and one was like a pumpkin for October for like NICU babies. So that's what we did.
I also want to go back to something that Jenna mentioned when she was talking about her gold award project, and that is finding the ideas, whether it's bronze, silver, or gold. Finding the ideas is often a big challenge. And that's part of why we set up these chit chat calls. And I'm going to repeat this, even though I said at the very beginning, so to make sure that Troop 8608 hears this. So the first Saturday at 9 a.m. and the third Monday at 7 p.m. every single month, we have one of these. And they are, we have guests this month in Rachel and Jenna to talk about their projects, but they're always open Q&A. So if girls are struggling to identify a project, you can bring them on here and they can share what ideas they have already, and what they're interested in, not just what their ideas are for a project, but what they're interested in also. And then we can have some back and forth in order to find something that matches what they think the community problem is and what their interests are, to make sure that they have great projects that they're really passionate about. Because as I'm sure Jenna and Rachel can attest to, the projects are much easier to get through when it's something that you're really, really interested in. Do you guys have other things to share on that thought? Like how to find a good project, how to know that it's a good project for you?
I definitely think that for your gold project, at least that should be something that you're super passionate about because it is so personal. For my like bronze award, it was just kind of like the whole troop is doing it, so it didn't have to be like as personal. And then the silver was like something that me and another girl had in common that we liked. We both like sewing. So I think just kind of like as you move up the levels, just kind of like making it more personal to you. That's just kind of what I did.
I would say, once again, kind of what Rachel just said, definitely make it more personable, like to what you want and what you are going to work towards. Um, I don't know, my bronze was a garden, and as much as I love gardening, I do not have a green thumb at all. So I could not have pulled that off by myself. Whereas like with a cookbook, I love to cook and I know how to do that, and that's where I'm happy, in the kitchen. So like I was like really enjoying that. And it was much more easy to get it done because I was excited about it. So just make sure you're excited about it, especially as you're getting closer to the gold. A lot of times, if you're working with other people like bronze and silver, you can kind of bank off of the excitement of others. However, with the gold, it really has to be on you.
I'm just gonna repeat what I said because in the chat, Sarah said that she couldn't hear me as well. So basically, I just said as like a bronze award, you're working with like your whole troop or like a lot of girls, like it's not as personal because it's not just you working on the project. So like it would be nice for something like that you would enjoy, but like everyone has to kind of be involved in it. For silver award, you're working with only like a couple other girls, so it can be more personal. Like for me, it was one other girl, so we both like sewing, so we sewed baby blankets, and then your gold award because it's just you doing it, like something you're passionate about, something that you're super connected to, because it is such a big project. Like you'll want to enjoy it and be passionate about like continuing and finishing it, and then to also just be proud of it as well because you enjoyed it.
So I saw both of you responding in the chat about your troops, but do you guys each want to give your troop, like from Daisies, if you started in Daisies all the way through, like your troop experience and what you've experienced?
Yeah, so my troop, we started really big. We started with tons of girls. And we had a couple people like join randomly and then like only come for a year and then head out. But we were really consistent until about like sophomore year. But basically, from Daisy to our sophomore year, we were still at like 15 people. So that's a pretty big troop for sophomore year in high school. Um, and then everything got busy. High school got busy, and we became really small. And now we have 3 people in our troop that are like consistent. You know what I mean? So we're still like really like we all are really close and we're super friendly. We went on a lot of trips and we went on like a canoe reserve trip, which was a lot of fun. I don't know. Our troop has been really supportive and amazing. We also have a very fun troop.
Mine troop. Oh,
Sorry.
my troop is kind of similar to that. We started as daisies. There's probably 20 of us, and as time went on, people like dropped out, and of course, like that's to be expected. And then it was so when I did our bronze award, there was probably about like 10 of us around there. That was in 5th grade, and then as we got older, 8th grade did our silver award. There was 3 of us who did the silver award, but then probably 3 other girls or 2 other girls who didn't do it. Then those 3 girls dropped out because we were so focused on our silver awards and moving on from that. And then freshman year, we had kind of our last like true meeting. And because of like COVID and stuff, we were kind of communicating like who wants to do their gold award. I knew I wanted to. One girl knew she didn't. And then the last one was like on the fence. Eventually, both of them decided they didn't want to do their gold award. And because my mom was like, is the troop leader, we weren't really hosting meetings anymore. And with COVID and stuff, so that like our troop kind of just naturally dwindled down to just be me. But like we weren't really meeting regularly anyways, because like we had finished our journey to be able to do our gold award, and it was just kind of like waiting and deciding.
I will add on with what Rachel said. We didn't have regular meetings all through high school. We never had like we would meet every week, because that just wasn't going to work with high school schedules. We would usually like try to meet like once every like 4 months, just because everything was always so crazy and hectic.
Rachel, are you registered as a Juliet now, or are you still under your troop just with only minimal members? Excuse me. I think you're registered under your troop still.
Yeah.
I think Rachel's
I
still
think
registered
I'm under my troop. Yeah.
Yeah.
2648, if that.
Yeah. And Zoom meetings, Jenna and Rachel, this is probably better answered by you. Because one thing that I did for the high schoolers, starting, I don't remember, I wanted to do it even pre-pandemic, but the pandemic lent itself to it so well, is I actually have a council-wide high school virtual troop. It's only virtual. And I call it a bonus troop, so that if a girl is actually in a troop, she can also be in the virtual troop, because oftentimes, as in Rachel's case, you want to see other girls that are in high school, but you might not necessarily have girls in your troop anymore. I feel like there was a question I was going to have you guys answer, and now I forgot what that was. Oh, so did either of your guys' troops meet virtually?
No, because it was my mom and I, and everyone else dropped out.
We never did, because all of our school was online. And so we were all very sick of Zoom meetings and Google Meets. And so we didn't really want to do that. We would have rather just had like a social distance fire, which we did do once or twice. But we didn't ever meet virtually, because we were just so exhausted with the virtual meetings.
And I think that's partially true. The online high school added to it. I'm not going to deny that. But I think that's also partially true just with high school in general. I know when my daughter's troop, and my daughter is way out of high school now, but when my daughter's troop was in high school, I think we had 8 girls in our troop then. And we could not meet during like as a regular troop meeting. We picked, as Jenna said, like once every 3 or 4 months, we just picked a Saturday that there wasn't any sports, and we got together and we just did Girl Scout stuff that whole day. It works better when they're older, because it aligns better with their schedules. When they're younger, you kind of need the consistency to keep them engaged differently. But yeah, we did that too. So Rachel and Jenna, did either of you go to camp, Girl Scout camp?
I went to Camp Blackhawk once, and then my troop would go and we would camp Hawk's Nest. We would always go there, and we went like every year for a solid, well, we had a bunch of people, we had around like 6 to 10 around there. We would always go to Hawk's Nest, and it was kind of like a yearly thing. We made it consistent about 4 years in a row around there, 3 and 4. And we'd always it was always something we all looked forward to.
Jenna, did you do camp? Are you frozen? I think you're frozen. I asked while we wait for Jenna to unfreeze. I asked that question because, the highest awards aren't necessarily a pathway that every girl is interested in. But often another reason that girls stay in Girl Scouts as they get older and into high school and such, is because they are interested in the camp aspect. So we also have to remember that, although of course I'm a champion for highest awards, that, it isn't the pathway for everybody. And we have to keep that awareness for all girls so that we're serving them where they want to be and what they want Girl Scouts to be for them.
Yeah, camp was fun for me, like, as a trooper going to Black Hawk, but it wasn't, like, a super motivating factor. I just kinda wanted to I liked the highest awards kind of aspects, and that was kind of, like, more of it for me personally, but I get kind of, like, the appeal of going to camp, meeting with other girls, stuff like that. I just never really got too into that, with, like, a busy schedule and stuff like that.
Troop 8608, do you have other questions for Rachel? I think we lost Jenna. I think her connection died.
I think I just want to know, how do you keep it fun and lively and interactive, keep everybody on board with interacting and communicating? Because I just find it a challenge to communicate with the adults. And of course, the adults, they then bring their kids and they keep everything lively. But I think the booths really took my young girls out. We were in Milwaukee and it was cold, it was uncomfortable, and that kind of just like took the troop out as far as doing cookie booths or being outside, and just kind of lost all hope with the troop. So I am the troop leader. So my daughter, she went to every single cookie booth. She had to be at every single event just because I'm the troop leader. And I feel like I don't, she said that's not fair, but she has to do it. So how do you keep the interactions or lively or fun parts of it going for parents, working parents, and the other troop members?
Do you have any thoughts on that, Rachel? Otherwise, I can share a story that I recently heard. But I can, if you have
That
thoughts, I'll
is
share after.
that is a challenge. For me, I always just remember kind of keeping people connected with, like, regular meetings, trying to make it something that, like, you're excited to go to, even if it's not every week, like every 2 weeks or once a month, something like that. Doing crafts, just things that people enjoy. And cookie season is a challenge, especially if it's cold. We've had a lot of luck selling, like, indoors in some cases. Gander Mountain, which is now over in Madison, they would let us sell within the airlock of, like, the outside doors to the inside doors. And I'm sure, like, once you get permission from a store to sell outside of them, outside of there, if you ask, they might let you, when it's, like, super cold out, just kind of, like, set up a table somewhat inside the store, because it's kind of like, it's not outside, but it's not inside. So you can kind of use that, to make it less of, like, a struggle.
So I was recently listening to it just this last week. I was listening to a podcast. I listen to a lot and I can't remember which one it was. So I can't tell you which one it was, but I heard a story that I thought was super, super interesting. And I think really speaks to the heart of your question. And so this was a troop leader. I think they were sixth graders, so slightly older, but same conceptual area. And the girls were just frustrated. They didn't want to do Girl Scouts anymore. They didn't want to do this. They didn't want to do that. And so the troop leader asked, well, what do you want to do? And they picked 3 or 4 things. One of the things was they wanted to go to a tattoo parlor, or they wanted to get tattoos or something like that. And what she did was she took that, and they actually went to she set something up and they actually went to a tattoo parlor, but they went there and the person that ran the store talked to girls about the hygienic components of piercings and tattoos and things like that, to, like, do it from the I expect that there was probably a self-expression part in there, but, like, the self-care side of it. So she gave the girls what they asked for and more, and made it a true I don't want to say educational, because that's not, like, the intent, but I can see you shaking your head. You get the concept, right? like really find out what they are. But when they have these weird thoughts, like try and stand those thoughts on their head as to how you can still meet their interests. But do it in a way that makes sense to the general world. Because
just
obviously,
stuff
I
that,
know.
like,
I think that I'm at the point where it's like they're done. Just like, I don't want to do anything else. Cookie season just wiped them out.
Mhm.
And now I'm at the point where this is my first time being a troop leader. My daughter's been in Girl Scouts since she was a daisy. And I just feel like I don't know if there's any recovery from
Another
this.
thing that we did as a troop is we would spend a day at the Kalahari or the wilderness. Just kind of like doing fun excursions like that. It kind of breaks up like the monotone, like doing a journey, or after cookie booth or cookie season, kind of like, oh, you did all this hard work, we can spend some of the money from cookie sales on like a trip camping, or another like day activity like that. That kind of just resets everyone and makes it more of like a, oh, well, Girl Scouts can be fun too, and we have these opportunities from it, to continue keeping them passionate about it.
yeah, I mean, if they're, I agree with what Rachel just said, at this point of the year, if they're burned out, like find a couple of fun things that they want to do. But again, have them brainstorm on ideas and then take those ideas and make them into something else too. I struggled with that too. As Rachel said, her mom's her troop leader. I was my daughter's troop leader, and I was a single mom, and my daughter and I were very, very much alike. So being her troop leader was not the best experience. I tried not being her troop leader so many times, and I always ended up being her troop leader. I know that your troop is really, really young, but one thing to think about is you've heard about Orlando in 2022, right? Right? If you go, that's great. Like, I don't know what Orlando's going to be. I know that they're trying to skew it down to the ages. I don't know if 6th grade is quite there yet. But if you add 3 more years, I guess we would only add 2 more years this time. I wonder what they're going to do. I wonder if they're going to do it in 2024, 2025. Because it was supposed to be last year, right? But anyway, if you add 2 or 3 more years, that's going to be 8th grade or freshman, right? And that is the perfect age to go to convention. So I just want to lay that out there right now. I took my troop who was in 8th grade and freshman, and I had 11 girls that from my troop that I took, and we had 18, I think, we did 3 troops together to share the leader load too. And we went to convention, like I said, when my girls were in 8th grade and freshmen, and they still to this day talk about, not just my daughter, but her friends that I talk to still talk to this day about that, because a lot of times girls haven't even left Wisconsin. I had girls on that trip that had never left Wisconsin. A lot of them one of them had never even been to La Crosse. So we're in Cashton, so we're closer to La Crosse than Madison. But
that's one of my goals for my daughter, is to be well-rounded, to have not adventure, but just exposure.
mhm.
So you can think of things later on in life. Say Girl Scouts was the foundation. This was the foundation. Like you said, I'm a single mom as well, but I have 4 kids, and my boys have done Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, they're Boy Scouts.
Mhm.
And now she's on her own adventure with Girl Scouts. But being a troop leader is totally different than just being the parent.
Yep.
It's a lot more that goes into being the leader. And I
Yep.
feel like she feels like I'm pressuring her more than the other troopers. And I feel like I am, I guess, because I'm her mom plus the
Mhm.
leader.
When she
You know,
doesn't get a choice, she has to come on all the
She
activities
has
because you're going to be
to.
there. She has to. I
So
mean,
I feel like that's burning her out too. It's like overwhelming at the same time.
Yep. And it is. It's a hard balance as a mom and troop leader, because your daughter doesn't have a choice. She has to go to all the troop things because you're not home. And so she has to be with you, right? On the other hand, she gets all of those amazing experiences, and you get a little bit more control over what those experiences are. So like, it's a balancing act though.
I kind of related to where you guys are right now. Like my mom was the troop leader. I was going to every meeting. I was like seeing kind of the behind the scenes while the other girls were not as involved as I was. And honestly, like when I was probably her age, I wasn't super invested or passionate in it. The working on like the higher awards things kind of broke it up, and going on trips, like I had said, like to a water park or camping, that broke it up as well. But like I wasn't even sure in August, because I started my gold award in August, painted the mural in October. Like in August, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do the gold award because it was just so much, and I wasn't super passionate about Girl Scouts. Like we with COVID, it made it hard. Everyone else in my troop dropped out. It was just me. But because I had done the journey that set it up, like the last journey to then do the gold award, I like decided to do it, and I don't regret it at all. Like I'm so glad that I did it. And like I haven't sold cookies in 4 years. Like we haven't done any of that. I've like if you're not going to be spending money and you're like not as set on the cookie selling, like I'm sure you could do like you could cut it down a bit, so girls aren't super like burned out, especially if you do have a smaller troop, like because those funds, like if you had a large troop, the funds would need to support everyone. And I literally only fundraised for the money I had for my gold award. I had $30 in our Girl Scout like bank, like, but I'm glad that I had like this opportunity to do this project, because I don't think I would have been able to paint like a mural in my elementary school without this, because it kind of does give you that leverage to do that. And then now I'm here.
Thank you for sharing. I can't wait for my daughter and the girls in the troop to meet you. You have like your own day.
Yeah,
That's a big deal.
it was kind of funny. Like I just went to the meeting and then they're like, "Oh, we're pronouncing this day." It was kind of a weird name though. It was like Gold Award Rachel Gorman Girl Scout Day. And I'm like, okay, fine by me.
That's something that you'll have for the rest of your life though.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a certificate.
So just so you know, just today, the cards from President Biden came. So they'll be coming in the mail too.
Oh, I got my other one.
Your other one? Yeah. They just came in the mail today. So even though I sent out for
I'll
them
check
in
on that.
January. No, they can't. No, I have them. I have to get them to council
Oh,
to send out
okay.
because they all come to me.
Yeah.
But yeah. So just so you know, President Biden's letter came today.
Nice.
Well, I wanna be conscious of time, and we have 2 minutes till 8 o'clock. So I am very, very excited that Troop 8608 joined us today. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing Bronze Award projects coming through. As a reminder, please feel free to join us. It's the first Saturday at 9 a.m., third Monday at 7 p.m. every month. So feel free to join us whenever you need like some other feedback. I know that you're going to connect with Rachel, and I'm so happy that we had this time tonight.
Thank you both. And thank Jenna as well. I know she got cut off.
Yeah. All
And
right.
I emailed you, Rachel. Thank you guys.
All right. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.